Paula P works here, back like we never left with One Piece, chapter 1106, entitled On Your Side. And whoo boy, woo, this is the chapter, brothers. Ooh wee. Okay, a lot of people were right, including me. A lot of people were right. But first of all, we have our cover request by ABBA. We have a crocodile wearing Lacoste. Lacoste is in One Piece now. If you don't know, Lacoste is a luxury clothing brand famous for always putting little crocodiles on their various articles of clothing, and is being parodied here with a crocodile wearing a shirt that reads Lacoste. So that's a cute homage there, and Robin has dressed this crocodile to look sporty for the beach, which is very funny considering who her former boss was, a man by the name of Crocodile, if you remember Alabasta and Baroque Works and all that. So moving on with the chapter, so I want to give a shout out to my co-host, Zach, first of all, because we've been talking back and forth for weeks on this, and I kind of came around last week with chapter 1105 during our Rose Gold podcast segment, which you can find on the Paula P Works channel and the Rose Gold podcast channel. But his whole thing was that Vega Punk was going to die. And I was on his side, to make the pun about the chapter title. I was on his side because I kept wondering, okay, after Egghead is done, right, what is the purpose of keeping Vega Punk around? Because there are people technically around who can carry out his will to deliver free energy to the world. That's not impossible, because there are still 4 of him left. We have Edison, Atlas, York, and Lilith. Now, I will say this. Vega Punk is dead, y'all. Ain't no way. He gets stabbed by Saturn. So he is dead. He's bleeding out on the ground. He's dead. Okay. Also, just as a reminder, we're not going to go in complete chronological order with this chapter. I'm just skipping around to key points to keep the conversation interesting. So, yeah, Vega Punk is dead, y'all. Ain't no way. If there was ever a character who was important to die in this arc, it would be Vega Punk. Saturn stabs him right through the back with his weird spider hoof thing, or whatever you want to call that. Kind of like he tried to do with Kuma, but Kuma's got that strong back. You can't pierce Kuma. So yeah, no, Vega Punk is done so, baby. That is it. That's it. And yeah, shout out to Zach, my co-host, because he's been calling that for weeks. So kudos to you, bruh. You called it. Now, another bit of condolence and shout out to Ghost Train of Thought on YouTube and more famously on TikTok, because he had a video that I saw him reference a little while ago about how it may be possible that Bonnie is a satellite or a cyborg or what have you, and she has something to do with the pacifista hierarchy. That turned out to be true, just not in the way he described it, if I'm recalling his thoughts correctly. What happens is that Vega Punk has implanted a system in which every pacifista that bears Kuma's likeness will take the orders of Bonnie above all others, including the 5 elders. So in this chapter, she commands all the Kumas to fire on the Marines that are doing the Buster Call. I think this really does add to Vega Punk's character and is a beautiful way to send him out of the story. Because at least in his madness, his government mandated madness, he had the empathy and compassion to say, I cannot think of a world in which the people that I've grown to know so much and to even love, I can't think of a daughter being gunned down by her father, or a father gunning down his daughter like a run-of-the-mill pirate. That does not sit well with him. So that's why this hierarchy was implanted in every clone that bears Kuma's likeness. Now, keeping that in mind, I wonder if this counts for S-Bear, because that's a thing. That counts. He is a clone that bears Kuma's likeness. He's more Kuma than any other of the pacifistas, because he's got the pawpaw fruit. So not only is he a clone of Kuma, he's got Kuma's lineage factor within him as well. So he's got the whole package. Plus he's a Lunarian, which makes him like a really rare creature. Ghost and I talked about that too. It's super weird how rare he is because he's a Buccaneer and he's a Lunarian. He's two dead races mixed up into one that can shoot pacifista lasers. Incredible and weird. But yeah. And moving on for that, I swear. Okay, now this is the thing. I recorded a video a week ago. It just posted on the channel, and I was talking about Bonnie's future. It is so funny that everything I said in that video came true in chapter 1106, baby. Oh my God, bro, I called it. Yo. Okay, so in that video, I was saying that it's going to be a turning point for Bonnie when she starts to put the pieces together and discover that Luffy is Nika. And I said it's going to really start to gel together when Luffy pops back up and does the iconic pose in the sky. And that's what he does after knocking out Kizaru, who chases after Bonnie, Kuma, Frankie, and Alice as they were falling out of the sky. Oh, and he is attacking Santi too because he skywalks up there to save them all. But yeah, oh man, so she knows for sure that Luffy is Nika. Okay, so is she still joining? Yes. There's no way. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't think of another possibility for Bonnie at this time. I've made several videos about this. I think she'll be a perfect apprentice. I think it's going to happen because there's no way that you're in front of the guy who's your father's deity, whose teachings you were taught. There's no way you just pass up this opportunity and go off somewhere. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Brothers, she's joining. I don't know if people like her or dislike her. I think she's got a lot of soul. I like her a lot. I think she's funny. I think she has great chemistry with the crew. I think this was set in stone way back in Subodi Archipelago with Zoro. I think it's a thing. I think this is what's going to happen. Now, what would make things complete is the haircut. I've talked about the haircut a lot now. I still think she's going to get her mother's haircut because that seems too unique to pass up. And what's important too that I keep forgetting to mention is that it's very interesting that we see Guinea both as a child and as an adult. Like how we've seen Bonnie now, mostly as a child and as an adult. She has turned into an old lady as well. But it's funny that we see Guinea in those two versions, and then those two versions are the two most popular versions that Bonnie switches between. The old lady one, even though it's a significant part of her backstory and an homage to, I guess, the only other mother figure in her life, which was Queen Dowager Connie, and where she got the hat from, which is also very important. But still, the child version, which is her base form, and the adult version, which is her, I guess, other default, are her two most popular versions. So she does really parallel with her mother in that way. And it will only make sense to sort of give her this new resolve, this new transformation, if she were to inherit her mother's haircut after she joins. I think it'd be really sick. But time will tell. We shall see. And Broggy and Dory are here, boys. Yes. Broggy and Dory. Broggy and Dory. Now we know how they're going to get out of this Buster Call because the boys are back in town, baby. Oh, and they recognize Luffy as Nika, as the sun deity, which is not unbelievable. I don't know how they know that's him. That's the weird part. I don't know. I don't know why they're off of Little Garden, first of all. Shanks is looking more and more suspicious by the chapter, but we'll see. We'll see. It's interesting, though, that this is coming up with Giants because we know that way back in Whole Cake during the Big Mom flashback that the Giants do have a whole sun religion. There was a whole like solar solstice thing because that's what the desserts were about. The ones that Big Mom wanted to eat as a child. That's what that whole festival was about. The return of the sun, if I recall. So that makes sense that Nika would be their deity as well, which brings into question, are the Buccaneers just a half giant form? Because again, like with the Oni, it would make a lot of sense because for some reason, when you have half breeds of giants, they're always called something different. Like with Big Pan, he is a Watan. I mispronounce that word every time. I think it's Watan. But yeah, he's given a different designator. He's a different thing in being a hybrid. He's called something else. As opposed to when you just have fishman and human, they're just like a half fishman or a half mermaid. You know, there's nothing really special about it. And I think too, this could apply to the Yeti Cool Brothers. A Yeti could be what you get when you combine, say, like a giant with a mink, because they're the only furry giants we've seen. And two, for those doubters who thought we weren't going to Elbaf, look at the egg in your face now. Look at the egg on your face now. Look at you. Look at you. You're a mess. Of course we were going to Elbaf. Thank heavens. I was a little concerned, but I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way we weren't going to Elbaf. Broggy and Dory are a ticket into Elbaf. I need Elbaf to be as long as Wano, but with hijinks and big food. I need there to be hijinks, big food, big animals, fat Bonnie, fat Luffy, fat Chomper, just like an egghead. That's what I need. That's what I need in Elbaf. We need lots of character development for Usopp. We need lots of character development, potentially Nami, I should say, potentially Nami. We need lots of character development for Robin. But I did do a video about how I do think that Big Mom is going to come back in Elbaf because she's the only other character outside of Usopp and Robin that is really giant focused. Or two, another thing that we have to consider is that is Capone coming back? Because Gotti, Capone's, I guess, first mate, I don't really know, but he married Lola in the cover story, and Lola was supposed to marry Loki. Now, Loki too could be a Yeti. Like that could be the allegory to a frost giant. Because I believe in Norse mythology, Loki is a frost giant. So if that's the allegory in One Piece too, or the similarity of a frost giant just having a Yeti, it will make sense if Loki is a Yeti. So we have to wait on that. But the fact that Broggy and Dory are here makes me believe that yes, indeed, we're going to Elbaf, and thank heavens for that. But yeah, Big Mom's got to come back. Big Mom has got to come back. She's got to be in the story. I still think she's going to lose Prometheus, and Prometheus is going to go to Nami as well. But moving forward in the narrative, if Bonnie does join, this makes the Straw Hat Crew a very unique superpower in the world, because as a faction, the biggest gun that the Marines have to fight them with, which are the pacifistas, are now completely inert against them, because she can just say, hey, all you guys that look like my dad, turn on the Marines for me. That's incredible. I don't think it will work on the Seraphim. I got something coming up about the Seraphim, because it's weird that they've been completely abandoned in this whole situation. I think we're going to see some sharing of the wealth, because we do know that Blackbeard is coming. Also, we do know now that the guys that blew up those Marine vessels were Broggy and Dory. It wasn't Blackbeard. But Blackbeard, we know, is on the island. And I think some very interesting developments are going to happen from Blackbeard coming to the island, and we'll talk about that another time. But this is all very interesting, very exciting. But as Bonnie being like that, it's so interesting to me, because the fact that she can just say, hey, you, go attack that other guy over there, is a very interesting concept to me. And now that's got me thinking about PX1, the pacifista that Kuma paw pad away during the pre-time skip during Shibodi Archipelago. I wonder if it ended up in Elbaf. That would be interesting if he sent it to Elbaf, because now we have to know. We've got to know about Giant Genealogy, because you can't tell me that with the Buccaneers having Nika as their deity, and now the Giants possibly too, with all their sun worship, having Nika also as their deity, there is no way that the two aren't related. They've got to be. It's got to be a whole thing. Now, the only problem is that the other side of this coin is with Oni and with Ancient Giants, because that's a weird other thing, is that anytime you see an Oni, they have this weird almost kinship with Ancient Giants. The first time we see this is with Moria back in Thriller Bark. He resurrected ores with Luffy's shadow. So I've always said that Moria looks like an Oni just based off of how Kaido and Yamato look. He too could be an Oni. I strongly believe that. And it's just very interesting that we get our first Ancient Giant through his arc. And then, of course, we have Kaido and the numbers, and then Yamato befriending the one number who ate a smile that turned him part horse. We have all that. And then this even extends back into Marineford when we kind of mix the two, because one thing that I said way back when it was first revealed that Kuma was a part of a different race, I said that he looked like Whitebeard. And it's very funny that way further down the line in Kuma's flashback, Alvida, while reading the paper of Kuma ascending to being a warlord, mentions that the papers say that Kuma is as big as Whitebeard. So I'm wondering now, is Whitebeard a Buccaneer? Because I said way back in my video that they were part of some Big Chin tribe, which, I mean, the name was totally far off. But yeah, he could be a Buccaneer. And as a Buccaneer, it's very funny that he too had a giant in his employ, well, an ancient giant, and that was Oris III, or Little Oris Jr. So yeah, there's this weird, this weird theme of half giants being very friendly to different types of full giants. Also, what's interesting is that in the Revolutionaries, we have Kuma the Buccaneer, and then we have Morley the Giant. So that's another point of these supposed half giants being close to full giants. So yeah, all that is very, very, very deep. And I hope we get some information on that, because this is turning out to be some very interesting stuff when it comes to the genealogy of these characters. But man, yeah, no, Vegapunk is dead, dead, dead. Also, what happens is that the robot in Vegapunk's basement, I guess, or scrapyard, comes back to life when the drums of liberation are played after Gear 5th appears again. So I don't know what that thing is about, because it looks like a robot, but it looks like a robot styled after an ancient giant, because it's got the horns, but it's also got the big Popeye forearms that like Little Oris Jr. and Oris had. So I don't know what's up with this thing, but that card's got to be played at some point. And I wonder if Luffy stays like this for a long time, would the robots start to move? And another thing I wanted to point out is that when Luffy turns Gear 5th, the area around them becomes rubbery automatically, and it doesn't seem like he's making contact with the ground. So is the ground responding to the drum beat? Or am I overthinking this? I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm very excited about what's to come, simply because Bragi and Dory are here. And yeah, the Marines thought they died over 100 years ago, but no, here they are performing for you. And yeah, they're going to clear all these guys out. But now, like, I wonder, how is Saturn going to get off the island? Because the idea of Saturn dying here, I know it's been said a lot by a lot of people. A lot of people think that Saturn's going to kick the bucket. It would be strange for him to kick the bucket here, simply because he's been established now. I don't think you kill a character as soon as he's been established. If that was the case, Kuzan would have died way back in Longland, you know? It doesn't make sense. And then too, like, Saturn is the second, supposedly, fully awakened mythical Zoan in the series. And the first mythical Zoan not to be a human field user. He's some sort of beast user. A lot of people, including myself, say he could be that weird cow spider yokai. We don't know yet. I assume that a fruit drop is going to happen sometime soon and we get a full breath of his powers, but don't know that yet. But I can't see him dying here. It wouldn't make sense. Kizaru continues to be interesting though, because he still has a lot of reluctance in what he is doing. Even when there is no hope for him to hold back, he gives Bonnie and Kuma the supposed mercy and saying, I'll kill y'all in one go. I'm so sorry. As he raises his lightsaber. But then, of course, he's punched out by Luffy and lands in the rubble again. Back in the rubble again. This attack that Luffy uses isn't named, though, but the fist out of nowhere is crazy. The big hockey fist out of nowhere is simply insane. And it's very telling that his attacks are faster than light because he keeps catching Kizaru off guard, the light man with light speed reactions. Yo, I think that's incredible. But yeah, looking at this panel now, it looks like he has stretched from miles and miles away. It's like he's stretched over like a quarter of the island just to punch Kizaru. Am I seeing this right? That's incredible. But yeah, don't know what else to say. I do like that we get a flashback of the Nika dance that Kuma and Bonnie did back in the flashback. That's good. To sort of tie this all together as she's seeing the deity before her. And it's kind of nice that Kuma, in a way, even though I think he's kind of dead now, he did die looking up. So he did die looking at the sun deity with his head towards the sun. I think that's nice. But I think he's passed. I do think he's passed. Which is sad. Or he's got like a spark left because there is a little effect next to his head, but he's not smiling, which is sad. I did want him to smile. Once Luffy did go Gear 5th. That's sad. So did he never actually get to see it though? Bruh. But Bonnie's seeing it. That's the important thing, but that's still messed up. I wanted Kuma to see it so badly. Well, you can't win them all. Is Vega Punk just gonna bleed out? Because I don't see them moving him. Because like the Buster Call now is ineffective. So Egghead would like still be there, which would be great for the remaining Vegapunk. They still have their research laboratory and they can just rebuild. Though, I mean, is it a wise decision to do that? I don't know. That's an interesting thought. Would it make sense just to pack up shop and like go back to like Vegapunk's home island? Would that make more sense? Because like this is still a government island and they would be relentlessly attacked even after all this has been settled. So it wouldn't make sense for them to actually go back or to stay on Egghead. So they would have to leave Egghead. But I just don't think Vegapunk is leaving Egghead. Also, the part about his brain, if he dies, does the brain still work? Which that's an interesting thought that a lot of people have been playing with. So like, is the body of Vegapunk simply like an avatar for people to interact with his brain? You get what I'm saying? It's weird because he was saying that his antenna can interact with his brain for miles and miles and miles and miles. He wasn't really concerned about the limit of contact, right? Or the limit of connection. So is this one of those weird situations, kind of like with Brook, in which the body can die, but a piece of the person can still live on without the body? Man, that's some complex thinking right there. And then two, now it's just kind of vulnerable for anybody to take, which, hey, that could be Blackbeard. Don't know. I think it would be interesting for the Marines to come out of this with a net loss of everything. I think that would be for the best because Saturn has already exercised his power, which him having to do anything is pretty much embarrassment enough. So it's already a loss that he had to come out and do anything, but then to lose everything else, but maybe like two Seraphim would be the best case scenario because they kind of accomplished one of the things they wanted to do. They've killed Vegapunk because Vegapunk can't be living through this. So I don't know. That's an interesting thought process to go through. How badly are they going to come out of this? I ultimately think they should be the losers in this situation, but we shall see. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. I have to break the bad news to you, however. There is a break next week, so no chapter next week, but plenty more content from me as always. As you know, there's a short every day. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Give me your thoughts, and I'll see you next time.